What is going on, y'all, and welcome to the No Look Pod. Man, if anyone who doesn't know, I am Marv from Double M Media, and the No Look Pod is going to be my strictly hoops pod. I might do some football as well, but we're gonna keep it really hoop centric on this podcast. I'm gonna do a lot of live streams, post game shows, and things of that nature. But it's media day. It is media day, big deal. Our new 2024 NBA champions, the Boston Celtics. They're early. They're like a week earlier than everyone else is because they have to travel to Abu Dhabi next week against the Denver Nuggets. So that's why if you see that there is a little earlier than scheduled, because the Celtics are going to be having their preseasons a little earlier than everybody else's. So they hit their media day a lot earlier. We got Carl in the building. What up, Carl? Nice to see you, man. A lot to go over. I want to hear from you guys. I'll hear your thoughts on how media day went, your thoughts on the off season, and looking into the future for this Celtics team. This is a big deal. Jalen and Jason, they finally reached that echelon, right, where they are champions. But as they were even saying today, are they going to be able now to take that next step where you solidify yourselves as multiple time champions? It's always hurt me as a Celtics fan that Pierces, Garnett's, Ray Allen, they weren't able to get that second one, although they were close. They were so close of doing so. They weren't able to get that second one where you start to look at players differently. You start to look at teams differently. There was a lot of talks last year with the Boston Celtics team. Or where does this team rank? Where does this team rank against the 86 Celtics? Or where does this team rank against the Golden State Warriors? You can't really have those talks if you only do it for 1 year. But now if this core can stay together for 2, 3 years and you're winning championships, now those talks you can really start getting somewhere with those talks. But right now you can't compare this 24 Celtics team to like the 2018 Warriors, something like that. You can't do it right now. That team, you knew that they were going to the finals year in and year out. Celtics finally got theirs. Let's see where they go moving forward. So thank you guys for joining me. We are here live, No Look Pod. I'm just going to have some of my boys join me as well. Mike Nice is going to jump on later onto the show. We got Jet who's going to jump on around 8:10 to give his thoughts on what's going on. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What stuck out to you during the media day? Media day is always a good time. Everyone comes in a good mood. But there's been some weird things with the Celtics this offseason. One first is which is not weird, but they actually have stability, right? They know who their coach is. You know who the stars are. You know the starting five. You know the bench. Everyone knows their roles. Drew Holiday's not coming in 2 days before 2 days before media day and training camp. Everyone's kind of solidified. It's smooth. It's like the first time things have been really smooth for the Celtics, and that's different. I love that for them. The only thing that's been off is, well, the ownership, right? I think that's like the biggest story around the Celtics right now, outside of Porzingis' health, is, well, what's going to happen during with the ownership? Who's going to take over the realms of the Celtics? Are they going to come in and could they change up the vibes? What changes are they going to make within the team? So that's something to look out for. But really, on the court, nothing really changes. Porzingis is going to be out for a few months. He had some optimistic things to say today. He's been running. He said he's doing some light contact. So we were thinking December. I was really thinking maybe February around the All-Star break is when we really see Porzingis come up. But the way he was speaking today during media day kind of sounds like he's optimistic for an earlier return. We know he's fragile. we know how it gets with Porzingis. So maybe they're gonna ease. We know the Celtics are gonna ease him in, and he even said it today in his in media day that he wished he can actually be doing more with the Celtics, and that hasn't been the case yet for him. Carl saying Lonnie Walker, that right there is a big actually that was a big pickup for the Celtics. Here's my thing about the Lonnie Walker situation. His contract is weird. It's an Exhibit 10 contract. So it's not guaranteed he makes this roster. I love Lonnie Walker. I think he's gonna bring something to this the second team that the Celtics were missing last year. You're bringing in a guy who's a wing who can defend multiple wings and who can shoot the ball. He can scoot off ball. Everything you want, he can do playmaking, all of that. So that brings a different dynamic that you couldn't really get with Sam Hauser, who you know is a shooter. He's going to knock down shooter, but he's not really going to create with the ball in his hand. Pritchard, he can create with the ball in hands, but we see that there are times where size can be a problem for him. So Lonnie Walker being that wing is going to be really helpful. But his contract scares me a little bit, being an Exhibit 10 contract. It's not great. It's not guaranteed, and it could be he has to do some time in Maine, which is kind of disrespectful. I was actually having this conversation with my boys today. Was it wise, just for Lonnie Walker's point of view, was it wise for him to take this contract with the Celtics? Because I feel like he's better than what that contract is, right? He could get a minimum, I believe, somewhere in the league. I was shocked that we were able to get him so late, but he's able to get a minimum somewhere in the league. Um, so was it wise for him to take this Exhibit 10 contract, or should he have waited out and try to find a minimum somewhere else? That's my question when it comes to him. You're saying 40% corner threes. Yeah, man. Hey, Lonnie's a knockdown shooter. If you think about the game against the Celtics last year, he was cooking. Lonnie Walker was cooking with the Celtics. So I'm really intrigued to see him in training camp. Another guy, since we're talking about just guys we want to look forward to, Jaden Springer. I'm really interested to see how Jaden Springer does. I think that this could be a year where he can take another leap. You know that Drew Holiday, he went all summer, he went championship, he went to the Olympics. He's, I believe, going into year 34, age 34 for Drew Holiday. You're gonna want to cut down his minutes. Derek White, same thing. He had a long offseason and went off to the Olympics. You're gonna want to start him off a little slower. Still young, a little younger than Drew Holiday, but I think there's room for Jaden Springer to take some of these minutes. It might be some rest days that Drew takes that Jaden Springer should try to take advantage of. We know he is a great defender. Where he's been slow is his offense. He showed some promise in summer league. I liked what I saw in summer league, especially with his playmaking. So maybe we see a little bit of Jaden Springer. Pritchard, we know his minutes are solidified with the team, but I want to see what Jaden Springer. He's a guy I'm looking at. So I'm looking at Springer. I'm looking for Lonnie Walker to really crack this lineup, and I'm also looking at Kada. Kata's interesting. Big body, defends, rebounds, has some touch. You know, he has some touch in offense. You give him the ball down there, he's gonna know what to do in this. So I'm looking at Kata as well to see how he can crack this lineup. Porzingis won't be playing. You're gonna have obviously you're gonna have Horford. You don't want to give him too many minutes. You're going to have my guy that I'm blanking on right now. Oh, why am I blanking on his name? Which starts whoa, but maybe Jets can help me out because Jets in the building. I'm blanking on our center right now.
Porzingis?
That- Not Porzingis, he's hurt.
Cornette?
Not Cornette. Tillman.
Oh,
I was blanking on
Xavier.
Tillman.
That's because he's like a 6'7" center.
Exactly. I was blanking on Tillman, but Tillman. I think since we're on the topic, I think Tillman should start. I think Tillman should start and Horford come off the bench.
That's
Another
a hot
year.
take. That's a
It
hot
is a
take.
hot take. It's a hot take. Horford's going to year 18. I think the team can be all right with Tillman there. He's not going to be a guy who stretches the floor all too crazy. But he's been a starter in this league, and if you give him consistent minutes going forward, I think that's going to help this team out.
Yeah, I mean, he's plays a specific role, right? Like he's a defender and he rebounds. He can occasionally hit a corner three. Like they don't need him to do that much. That's why they're so successful last year, as because their role players were exactly that, right? They were like, do not have to do anything you cannot do. Your role is what you're good at. Sam Hauser, your role, shoot threes, play a little bit of team defense. Really good at that. Peyton Pritchard, bring energy and scoring off the bench. We saw what he did, in the finals. His role was literally to hit half court 3-pointers. That was his only role in the
Right.
finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that, the way their team is made up, it's a very clear like hierarchy or pecking order. It's like, all right, Brown, Tatum, you are our scorers, you are our leaders. That's how it's going to go. Porzingis, you're the third option. Sometimes you're the one or the two, depending on the matchup. And then White and Holiday, you're defenders. We want you guys being distributors and taking the ball to the basket. And then everybody else, Horford, sort of a jack of all trades. But I think they did a really good job defining what their roles were and also being willing to, with the top guys, Brown and Tatum, being willing to sort of switch off depending on who had the hot hand. So like I see what you're saying with Tillman, and I think managing Horford's minutes is definitely important. If you look at some of his past seasons, when he played too much, 2 years ago, he got burnt out in the playoffs. Last year, he was able to be a lot more effective in the playoffs because he didn't play so much in the regular season. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're right, if we see more of Tillman, though I think that they are going to lean towards Kada more than Tillman this year.
Right. I started off bringing up Keita, who I believe is going to have who's going to have a big role with this team. And when he played with us during the times where Horford or Porzingis was out, he was pretty good. He would
I
get you he
like
would
his
get you a
games.
light 10 and 10.
He's like a poor
A
man's
light
Rob
10 and 10.
Williams.
We'll take that was what we were missing, right? We're missing a guy that sometimes when the rebounding was lagging, and someone who can just go up the middle, grab a rebound and push it to the point guard or whoever is up in the floor. Carl just reminded us on YouTube that Tillman actually got off-season surgery. I think it was him and Cornette that got off-season surgery. Cornette with his wrist,
And
and
Porzingis.
Tillman I think was a oh yeah, we know we know about Porzingis in his surgery. So yeah, Kata can really get a lot of minutes moving forward here.
Yeah, well, I think he was like the first like signing or re-signing they made, or one of the first they made. Like they made it a priority in the offseason. And this is a
Yep.
guy that is, I think, still growing a lot as a basketball player. We certainly haven't seen the best of him. He's a guy who spent a lot of time in the G League. He was a former G League Defensive Player of the Year. He just needs reps. And I think you see, like, you can't teach the kind of athleticism he has. He can show he can block shots. And I think that they're going to be a lot more minutes for him available this season now that he spent a full season sort of with the team and like learning, I guess from Horford and some of the veterans on the team. I could see him playing a bigger role. His biggest weakness for them is he doesn't shoot 3-pointers at all. And we know how much
Yeah.
Missoula values 3-point shooting.
God forbid one of our players doesn't shoot a 3-pointer.
It's not allowed under Missoula ball. You have to be able to shoot threes.
This so you watched some of Media Day. What were your
Yeah.
vibes? What did you see out of Media Day? Did you feel like they're ready, they're prepared? What were the vibes like for you?
It was weird seeing Jaylen Brown without a beard for the
It
first.
was.
That was a
It
weird
was.
vibe.
I didn't know who that was for a second.
Right, I know. It's like he looks so much younger without it.
He looks his age, right?
Right. I was, I think they're saying all the right stuff, right? Like we don't care about one, we want to get two. They put another blank banner hanging in the in the practice facility. Um, Tatum, I think he's talking about Missoula, saying he was the happiest guy in the world that he didn't play in Paris and that he didn't win MVP. And we know the personal accolades mean a lot to Tatum.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's my sort of one fear about the season, is that he gets too focused on the individual stuff. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying if something is going to derail their title defense, it could be that. He did such an amazing job last year being so unselfish and deferring when he needed to defer and playing great team basketball. Everybody did that. If you don't get that same level of buy-in, that could be an issue. So, I mean, I know he was talking
You
about
think
that.
it?
That's,
You think it kind of messed up his brand a little bit?
I mean, he's such a weird, like, if you want to call him like character on Twitter, like, or X or whatever you want to call it, social media. I don't get the hate he gets. I mean, it doesn't really
He
make
gets a
sense to me.
lot. He
A
gets a
lot,
lot of
and
hate,
you
bro.
know he hears it, and I know that stuff like he has a tattoo of him hoisting up the All Star Game MVP trophy. Like we know that stuff means something to him. Um, but at the same time, it's like, why, if you were a franchise or you were a fan of a franchise, why wouldn't you want Jason Tatum to be the face of it? Like, he's never in trouble. He's a great dad. He lives and breathes basketball. It's not like he's like looking to go Hollywood or do anything else. Like that's his passion. And you saw how much winning a championship meant to him. Like, for that's why the hate sort of baffles me. It's like, well, like, what else do you want out of a guy? Like, he's literally the sort of model example of what a superstar should be. He's not a selfish basketball player. He's a great role model for kids who are studying the game or studying how to be a professional athlete. So it's like, I don't really see what the issue is. It's not like he was handed everything on a silver platter either. You know, he wasn't the first overall pick. He was the third pick. Yeah, he went to Duke, but he wasn't. He's not the like was supposed to be the second coming of anything. I think it's a weird sort of thing that he gets all that hate.
Yeah, and so I'm just going off of your theory of that could be something that derails the team a little bit, right? If he focuses on all of that, and then he wants to be a little more selfish, take a little more shots. That could maybe, but the real issue was out of all, he played great, he played amazing. His shooting was ass. Let's be straight
Yeah,
up.
no, his shooting, and it was in the Olympics too. He didn't hit a jump shot in the
It
Olympics.
didn't. It was a long slump, a very long slump, right? And so throughout the playoffs, throughout the end of the year, going into the playoffs, and then into the Olympics, his shooting wasn't great at all. Carl's saying here, Tatum hits at a high clip. He's winning. He's winning. MVP. Of course, that's a given.
I think
It's
he honestly, you could make a strong case, even though he didn't shoot a high clip, he deserved MVP. I mean, he led the team in every statistical category.
MVP. Oh, you're talking Finals
Finals
MVP?
MVP. Finals
Okay,
MVP.
okay, all right, yeah, yeah, for sure. No, he Tatum had an argument for Finals MVP, 100%. Let's going into MVP. I think Carl means just MVP
Yeah,
as a whole.
okay, I get what Carl's saying. I feel like the way MVP is voted on now, they don't seem to care so much about what your team's record is, as long as you're just like stuffing the stat sheet. And it's virtually impossible for Tatum to be putting up the same numbers
Right.
as Embiid or Luka or Jokic because he plays on a much more team basketball oriented situation. Like Jokic has good players around him, but he doesn't have anybody even close to the caliber of Jaylen Brown. Like, Jamal Murray's never made an All-Star game. He's also rarely on the court. He's hurt a lot. Michael Porter Jr. is never going to make an All-Star game. So Jokic is going to, by virtue of that, put up bigger numbers. Luka Doncic has played most of his career with cast-offs or injured Kristaps Porzingis. Kyrie and him are like really the only two people who scored the basketball on that team. So it's just like, I don't know. Even though he's obviously expressed a desire to win it, I don't know how Tatum can, besides do what he did last year, which was be on the best team in best player in the best team in basketball. But that doesn't seem to matter to voters as much anymore.
No, he needs to, as long as he sticks to the script. What he did last year works. Obviously, he needs to shoot. He needs to shoot a lot better. There were times I felt like he took upon the challenge defensively. Guarding bigger players, even centers. Sometimes we saw that a lot during the playoffs. Continuing that, everything else will speak for itself. He's pretty much penciled in as first team all NBA if he continues to do that. But the shooting needs to improve. Carl
Yeah,
mentioned, and then even Tatum Tatum said it as well that, the last couple weeks he's been with his trainer and he's been working on the mechanics, trying to get that better and stuff. So we'll see what the beginning of the season looks like for him. He's been busy, bro. I don't know if he's even like slept this offseason. He's
I know.
been
Does he have a new
everywhere.
kid? A new kid
He,
coming?
he he has a new kid. Just yesterday, he was at the Netflix premiere for the Starting Five documentary that's
Oh,
coming
right.
out. Obviously, we know going deep into the playoffs, the Olympics. I can see a very slow start for Tatum. While you answer that, we got another guest in the building. You already know Double M's finest. Got Mike Nice in here.
Going on, y'all? How y'all doing, man?
My guy.
Good to see you, Jet, per usual.
Nice to see you, man. Yeah, I mean, but Marv, Tatum is kind of a slow starter in general too. And yeah, you're right. Like he's had a busy ass offseason. He played into deep June, then played in the Olympics, has having a baby or had a baby. I don't know if the baby's been born yet. And like you said, he did he's going to be doing all this promotion for the Starting Five documentary, which by the way, how was Domantas Sabonis? How did he sneak his way into that documentary?
I'm glad they got so they got one day had to get a foreigner in there, get his well, he's not really a foreigner because his
His
dad was
dad
here.
is. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
he was
but they
born.
have to bring a different perspective into it. Borderline all star player. You can't have
You're
all.
saying what you want to say is white guy.
Listen, man, you said it,
The
not me.
bonus is good. Like, don't disrespect the bonus. He's a solid player.
No,
I like.
Sabonis is nasty.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's great at he puts up double doubles, but it's like look at everybody else on that list, and then just like which one sticks out.
Listen, it's because he's on the Kings.
Jet saying when he comes on, he's gonna go use the bathroom, grab a snack.
Yeah, the Sabonis episode is a skip.
That's awful. Oh man, that's awful.
That's next, right on the
Mike,
Netflix.
what's your thoughts on Tatum going into this year?
Well, catching on to what you guys were saying when it comes to Tatum, I still look at Tatum as a guy who has the potential to take another leap and really assert himself and be dominant throughout the league. But again, because of his personality and just laid back style of speaking and doing things, and again, and as I say that, I don't mean there's anything wrong with that at all, but because he's not a dog, because he doesn't have this loud personality, people aren't necessarily going to view Tatum as a killer. He's a scorer. He's gonna go out there and get you buckets, and that's what we expect from Tatum. He'll get you buckets, so average 20 plus, 25 plus points a game, and that's what it is. But in my opinion, I still, after 8 years, I think he said this is his eighth media day. I still don't look at Tatum and say, "Oh man, he's a killer. He's gonna go kill a team one night." And there's nothing wrong with that, especially now that they've secured a championship. There's nothing wrong with that. I think for a while now we were saying, "Oh, Tatum needs to tap into this killer instinct, killer instinct." Well, I can't say anything now because they got a ring to show for it. So I think going into the next season, I'm expecting more of the same. Hearing what you said earlier, Marv. Obviously the shooting efficiency needs to improve. He needs to be a better shooter. His shot selection can still be questionable at times, but if he can continue to give what he gave last year into the new season coming up, Tatum should find himself again, all-star player, all-NBA player. With this current team, this current version of the team last year, this year, it's going to be tough for him, in my opinion, to really crack MVP conversations. It's going to be tough for him to crack those conversations. Not like he'll never get talked about in that light, but like officially now that they got to share the ball with so many guys, it's going to be tough for Tatum to get in them conversations. But I still think he's going to be an all NBA player. And, that's all this team can really ask for. Give us more of the same Tatum. If you can just increase your percentages a little bit and have somewhat better shot selection, I feel like Tatum's going to continue to be the guy that, we love here in Boston.
Another guy who had a new look is Derek White. New teeth, shiny pearly
I
whites,
can't
boy.
believe how many times he said he's had to get like a root canal for that. That's crazy.
Root canals, I've had a root canal. Them things are not fun.
I had too, but it's because I ate too much candy, not because I've got my tooth chipped in a basketball.
He got body, and probably going to Colorado's football game ain't help either.
No,
But
that was wild. I thought like he was untouchable in Colorado. I thought like no one was gonna mess.
they don't give a dim about that. Once the liquor hitting,
Come on,
nobody's
Coach
untouchable.
Prime's got to protect him better.
Yeah, man. Coach Prime didn't even know he was there. You saw where he was sitting, bro. Me and him
That's
had the
true.
same view.
He didn't have great seats.
Them nosebleed type seats.
But
But
Peyton Pritchard went out to the Oregon game because I watch all my Oregon Ducks games, and he was out in the field with the team. Where's that treatment for Derek White?
Derek
nah,
White
Derek,
eat and get drunk. If someone noticed
yeah,
him,
Derek White wanted to get faded. He wanted to get faded. He didn't want to be he didn't want to be out there, shaking hand, kissing baby. He wanted to get lit with his people up there.
yeah,
But speaking about Derek White, I was listening to his press, and something like hit me. Obviously, we know, right? He went to the Olympics, but what I didn't think about is that brings a whole different type of confidence within you now. One, players are looking at Derek White differently. Now, at first, obviously, Derek White, maybe last year people start to pick up like, oh, this guy's super underrated, or he's one of the most underrated players in the league. But now, once you win a championship, your focal part of a championship team, then you go into the Olympics. No one's looking at Derek White as some dude that's under the radar or slept on. Teams are going to understand. They're going to start game planning around Derek White. But Derek White, on the other hand, as well, this dude just came from practicing with KD and LeBron James and all these dudes and talking smack with them, and he has to feel a lot more confidence in himself. And I think he can be poised for another big year going into this one. I don't think that's a topic people are talking about.
I think Derek White last year, he started off hot, and that's what really put him in the conversation for like, oh, he can make an All-Star game, and make an All-Star team. And I think as the time got closer to February and whatnot, he kind of tailed off with the success.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I feel as if going off everything you just said, Marv, I'm expecting Derek White to sustain the amount of success he had at the beginning of last season throughout the whole season. And that's not to say like, oh, the second half of the year and close to the All-Star break, he wasn't good anymore. That's not the case. Again, like we've stated, this team has a lot of mouths to feed. But I think one thing that we can expect from Derek White, hopefully, is that he'll continue the same amount of success throughout the course of 82 games, and he's proven to be an Iron Man. That guy doesn't miss too much time unless he's asked to, or unless he's having a baby. I don't think he played 75 plus games, and that's a lot to ask for out of an NBA player in this day and age. But I think just sustained and continued success from the beginning to the end, we might be looking at a possible Derek White All-Star season. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think you just got to look at like how confident he must be kind of playing off what Marv was saying, like who he was practicing with. And they were talking about this during the Olympics. It's like you look up and down the roster, it's like top 10 recruit, like first overall pick, easy, like first ballot Hall of Famer, all-time great LeBron, KD, Curry. And Derek White was not recruited, went to JUCO, played Division II, went to Colorado, which is not a basketball school, and sort of found his way from like a role player in San Antonio to being traded to the Celtics and, becoming what he is now. So it's like, how could he not be super confident with that sort of story and that sort of journey? And now he's a household name because they've won a championship, and he had a really strong playoffs. He hit big shots. He played great defense. And so he's gone from being a guy who was, like I said, not recruited to an Olympian, an NBA champion, and a household name in the span of like a year.
Yeah, I think this could be a sneaky Derek, like Mike said, sneaky Derek White All-Star year. We always talk about the young guys like Anthony Edwards, or when KD in 2012, when they get that Olympic experience, they take their game to another level. I think we could see the same thing with Derek White into this year, especially where a lot of guys on this team are getting older. You're gonna need times where Derek White's gonna need to be a guy that gets you 20 points a game to help you win. I definitely see that going forward. A guy we didn't talk about yet is Jaylen Brown. JB, a lot of talk of JB all off season. Tatum had his thing and Jalen had his thing as well. Obviously, getting snubbed from the Olympics, him going back and forth. One thing about JB, he gonna talk about it. Whether he's upset, not upset, he's gonna do some type of emoji. He's gonna post about how he's feeling. And this time, not only did he post about it, he rapped about it. He made a whole song, a whole track. But he said he was getting busy. He was getting busy during the offseason working out. We saw once again that he was doing his underwater workouts and everything like that, trying to, work on his cardio that helped him last year face guard guys like a Steph Curry, a Damian Lillard, and even a Zion. So going into this year, he said, yo, I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. He definitely looked like it last year. And if he's saying it, one thing about JB, if he says it, I believe it. Could this be and he didn't get the all defense. He didn't get a nod for all defense. I think this year, now that the noise has been around it, the eyes are all on him. Can this be a year where Jalen gets an all defensive nod?
I mean, I think so. It's the defensive voting is so based off of reputation, I think, more than production. You see that with Defensive Player of the
Of
Year. I
course.
think Rudy Gobert.
Usually guys get all defensive awards a year or two after they deserve it.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot was talked about in the finals, in the playoffs, certainly in the finals, about Jalen's defense, and how good he's gotten defensively. And I think when you're talked about your defense on that stage, suddenly voters, when it comes time to vote for all defensive, are like, oh yeah, Jalen Brown. They don't have to like. It's hard. You can't look at a stat sheet and be like, yeah, that's the best defensive player in the league, no matter what. Like blocks, yeah, that's important. Steals are important too, but like you're playing good defense. That doesn't mean you're going to necessarily still, put up great steal numbers or block numbers. It means you're playing really good ball denial. You're rotating well. Your other person who's playing against you is shooting a low percentage. And a lot of people who are voting aren't going to go back and look at all the Jalen Brown game tape or all the whatever game tape. So I think the boost to his defensive reputation based off of how he performed in the playoffs and the finals certainly could carry him to an all defensive nod. And I think, to as biased as I am as a massive Celtics fan, I think you could say the same thing about Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jalen Brown, and when he's healthy, Kristaps Porzingis, I think are all you can consider all defensive players. When you look at how people have voted in the past, they all have, I think, a strong argument that they're some of, if not the best defensive players in the league at their respective positions.
Oh, that's pretty bold putting Porzingis up there.
I see, like, he
Pretty bold,
impacts
Jet.
a lot. It's because, I mean, his sheer size. Like, he blocks a lot of shots. He's a great rim protector. He can also go out and defend the perimeter. I can't compare him to Wembanyama as a freak, but he's like poor man's Wembanyama that defensively.
Very poor, but yes, I hear what you say.
By the way, so that's high praise.
Nah, JB's definitely one of the best two-way players in the league, if not the best two-way player in the league. And I think if I can agree with Jet, he's gonna probably get or I think Marv said it, he's gonna get the recognition that he deserves, and make all defensive team this season or next season. I think what he displayed in the playoffs and especially in the finals, people definitely took notice. Like, this guy gets it done on both ends of the court. And I don't see him slipping defensively going into his year 9, age 28. He's only going to be 28 years old in this upcoming season. Like, his defensive prowess is not going anywhere, and it's only going to be put on display more and more throughout the course of the season. I think he's hungry. The whole team's hungry. So Jalen Brown, I'm expecting a big year out of, like, can we finally see my boy Jalen Brown, a starter in the All-Star game? All NBA loading up, all defensive team loading up, and I'm looking at Jalen Brown as the starting guard in the backcourt for the Eastern Conference, or however they do the All-Star game this year.
How they're going to do it this year.
He should definitely get a starting nod. I don't see him tailoring off with his stats and defensively, offensively. I see him doing the same and even better. Obviously, what hurts him his free throw shooting, like he'd average 4, maybe
Yeah,
5 more.
frustrating.
If he knocked down free throws,
Right? You better stop swimming and get your ass to the free throw line.
exactly. He's leaving points on the board, and obviously people look at points. You talk about all these stats and whatnot. People look at points as well, and he's leaving some points on the board just because he's shooting like 65% from the line or whatever the case may be.
He should be an 80% free throw shooter.
Also, he doesn't get to the line enough.
That as well. But if he's
Well,
just
part of it's because he doesn't get a great whistle because he's so strong.
yeah, but just give me 75% from the field. Like at this point, I just don't want to see you shooting 60-something% from the line. You got to be 75% or better. And I feel like he does that. He gets a couple more points added. This is going to be a year where I don't know. Again, similar to Tatum, he's not going to be in MVP conversations, but All-Star team starter, all defensive team, all NBA. Him and Tatum should be racking up those awards consistently, I feel like.
Mike, when he starts shooting 80% in October, don't be coming at me and telling me he's back. He's got it fixed. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want to hear that shit no more.
Started off hot last year. He started off hot at the free throw line. Told Marv, and the moment those words left my mouth, it was over for him.
Because I wasn't paying attention. And he started telling me, and I'm like, once I started looking.
You can't trust Mike's predictions about Boston sports. Like he had Dustin Pedroia like coming back and winning MVP like 5 years in a row. I think he played like 5 years over those 5 years.
My guy.
Going back to media camp, a big talk around was there's two last things I want to touch on. One of them was the word motivation. How are you guys motivated going into this year? What's y'all motivation trying to go back and forth? That was a big theme of it. And Mike and I got to speak to Gary Washburn last weekend. So say again?
I watched.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Make sure whoever's listening right now, go on to Double M Live. Listen to the podcast Mike and I had the great Gary Washburn on.
What I like is he's different with you guys than he is like when he's doing like other shows or doing his regular things. Like you see more of like his personality, which is cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
You only want the real from the guests.
That was dope. So yeah, one thing we spoke about is Mazzulla, right? And one thing I said is Mazzulla's a psycho. That dude is still kind of sick. And I think due to that fact, I'm not worried about the Celtics and having that motivation. You can already tell, like, the Celtics today were kind of like robots. They all said the same thing. And you could tell it all came from Mazzulla.
It's kind of like the Patriots for 20 years, right?
Yeah, no, it was really like them. Like, wow, they're really all buying in. I think that's the word I'm looking for. The buy-in. The buy-in from Mazzulla is there. They all repeated what Mazzulla was saying. They all said, "Yo, we're not defending champs, because defending means that you're being hunted. We're going to be out there being the hunter. We're not defending." Like they all said that. I'm like, wow, okay, they really have that buy-in from Mazzulla. And that's all I care about within a coach. When you can tell me the X and O's, like when Brad Stevens, right? Everyone's like, oh, Brad Stevens, the X's, no, but the buy-in wasn't there. That's why I personally wanted him out, because he didn't have the buy-in no more. That Mazzulla has the buy-in, and he's sick and twisted enough to figure out different ways to get this team motivated for them to continue and pursue for banner number 19.
He's got a lot of Belichick qualities about him. He's much weirder than Belichick. Belichick seemed like other than like a football genius, like a relatively like normal guy. You saw like what he wore, beat up hoodies and stuff like that. Mazzulla's kind of like crazy, but the same sort of philosophy where it's like an obsession with the sport he coaches, and he sees the game in sort of a different or unique way, and that he's able to get his team to buy in, like you just said, Marv. And I think that when you are coming off of a season where you had the best record in the league by a wide margin, you dominated in the playoffs, you won the NBA Finals in 5 games, even though more people picked against you than picked for you. How could you not have the buy-in? They haven't won a championship prior to that since 2008. They've had a bunch of different coaches try and fail, and Mazzulla is the guy who gets it done in his second year coaching on the job. I don't know how you couldn't buy in. And he was also a guy that was propped up by Tatum and Brown, saying this is once the whole thing with Ime Udoka happened, they said this is the guy that they wanted. So I think he had at least the trust of the players initially, and now he's delivered on everything that you could want from a coach to deliver on in terms of team success. He's gotten those guys to a championship. He's gotten them to All-Star games, All NBA, all those accolades. They've made their money now. Tatum and Brown, and now White, Holiday. They've all gotten paid. Playing under Missoula, it's helped their statistics too. So it's hard to say why at this point. And I've been a big Missoula critic. Like, how could you not buy in? I think he's proven the doubters wrong, and he pushed all the right buttons in the playoffs. And whatever crazy he is, it's working. And I think it should continue to work unless there becomes that moment, like it happened with Belichick and Brady, where they just stop believing in each other anymore. But it's still so. Or think about like what Mike just said. Tatum Brown is still so young. Like, it's a young team, and they're just won their first championship. Like, you could tell they want to rip a couple off. They don't want to be one of the Raptors who won the one with Kawhi. They want to
Yeah.
be a Celtics dynasty. They don't want to just have the one trophy.
And Mike, before you go, I think Jet, you nailed it on the head. It's because they won, right? When you win, all the antics, all the craziness that you want to do, if that worked, it worked, and I'm gonna buy it. But had they have lost, think about last year, Mike. If the Celtics got swept by Miami, I'm not sure if Missoula's the head coach for this team.
That is true. I think the interesting thing with the Missoula story, as we all know, he got thrown into the fire. Like, he got the job, he got thrown into a fire. Not only did he get thrown into the fire, like, expectations were high for the team. They just had lost in the finals. Expectations were high for that team to go back and make it to the finals again. So he got thrown into the fire. In his first season, took a lot of criticism, as expected, and just being a young rookie coach, just trying to figure things out. As much as even still to this day, where you can question how Missoula runs the offense and what he allows players to do and not do in the offense and this and that, what I will give Missoula credit for is I think very quickly and at a young age as a coach in the NBA, he's figured out who he is. He's figured out his identity, I feel like. And it's exactly what it is. Kind of both of you brought it up. Somewhat of this Patriots, Belichick kind of mindset. He's found a way to get players to buy in and push their buttons and to get the most out of them. And the fact that you said, Marvin, I kind of saw it a little bit too. Every guy at Media Day today was saying the same thing. They were saying the same thing. We're not going to be defending. We're out here hunting. We're hunting. And he has every player locked in and saying that same thing. And that's huge. That's really huge that, every player from star player to backup player, whoever it is, they're repeating the same words from the head coach. And once you have that, you have something special. And like I said, I feel like Missoula has quickly figured it out. And he didn't have much time to. Like you said, Marv, they got swept by Miami. He could have probably been out of here. But, with a team this good, a lot of success, I feel as if, they have currently a recipe, obviously having great players on the team, but great players on the team, plus a coach like Missoula who has the guys, the star players, the leaders of the team bought in. He's thankfully for Boston fans and for the team and the organization, he's figured out what works best for him, and hopefully that just continues to lead to more success for the organization.
One thing we didn't mention as well is the coaching staff, right? This year he had a solidified coaching staff. Carl mentioned like first season he lost his head assistant, right? Damon Stoudemire, once his boy wasn't there, got the hell up out of this. Wait, Celtics, I'm the lead assistant. You're not gonna make me head coach? Yeah, I'm not gonna be here too long. He did the Michael Jackson. Magic Johnson. I'm not gonna be here. So he pieced, and yeah, so that the Celtics were scrambling when it came to who was going to be the assistant coaches, who's going to buy in from this rookie head coach. This year, he had a squad. Past year,
Yep.
excuse me, he had a squad. Obviously, we lose Charles Lee, but you still have
Sam Cassell.
you still got Sam Cassell as now the new lead assistant on the team. So they're they're running it back pretty much going into this year, and everyone knows each other. Everyone's comfortable.
Right, and it gives you, whether you're the most confident person and you put that on or not, like, if it was an act or whatever, winning a championship solidifies that. And like, you can't not feel that extra boost of confidence once you accomplish your goal. And the goal for the Celtics is always winning a championship. And Joe Mazzulla delivered that. So I think he's got to feel validated too. You know, whether he said, I knew this was going to happen all along, or just like we stayed the course, or I had the belief, you still have to actually win the thing. And so once he did that, I think it validated not just to the media or to fans or to the players, but to himself. Like, okay, I am pushing the right buttons. I know what I'm doing. I was thrown into an impossible situation. I maybe wasn't fully seasoned or ready to become a head coach, but now at this point in time, I am an NBA champion, and I have that confidence within myself to know what it takes to get to that mountaintop, what buttons to push, what adjustments need to be made. I thought he pretty much outcoached everybody with the exception of one game. I think it was game 2 against Miami, where I thought he got outcoached by Eric Spoelstra. And Eric Spoelstra, I think, is the best coach in the NBA. So there's no shame in that. But I think overall, Mazzulla put on a coaching clinic. So that going past couple seasons was my biggest concern about the Celtics. That's not my biggest concern for them anymore. Right. It's not Joe Mazzulla. And I wanted to say one other thing before we go that I liked about Media Day, because typically when you're the champions, your Media Day should be relatively boring. Like, you don't want a lot of crazy stories and excitement. I am hopeful that Lonnie Walker brings something special to this team. I really like Lonnie Walker. I've liked him for a while. He's got an amazing story, and he's a really different type of player than they've had in terms of being someone that can come off the bench and be a athletic scorer to spell Tatum or Brown at times. He's not Jason Tatum. He's not Jaylen Brown. He's never going to be those things. But you can't have those kind of guys coming off the bench. I think that it really will be helpful to Brown and Tatum to have somebody who can come in for a couple of minutes and do a sort of a cameo act of what they do. He's athletic. He can shoot threes. He can drive to the basket. I think that if it works out for them, that could be a huge difference in improving the team from last year to this year. I thought it was a great under the radar signing, and I am hopeful that it will work out, because I think it's something that they've lacked the past couple of seasons. I like what Hauser did. I like what Pritchard did, but they have not had like a dynamic athletic wing backing up their Tatum for a while.
Waiting for a long time. They're waiting for them to find somebody.
We started the show talking about Lonnie Walker. My only concern with Lonnie Walker is the contract. That Exhibit 10 contract is kind of weird. Thought he would have deserved the minimum at least. So it's not guaranteed he makes this team. So definitely keep our eyes out there in training camp, preseason, see how he does. That's my only concern. If he makes this team, it's all full go, man. It's going to be special to see him, like you say, spell Tatum and Brown. All right, I want to end this show off with a quick segment called No Look, All Talk. I want you guys to give me y'all best hot take going into this season. You already kind of said one, Jet, about Porzingis possibly being an all-NBA type player. So,
I think something simple and easy that is not really a hot take because it's very likely, but I kind of said already, but I see Tatum and Brown both being all-star starters this year.
Okay. I like that one.
It's not that bold. Not that bold. You're right.
Not too bold. They don't like Brown sometimes, so but we'll see. We'll see.
Joe Mazzulla wins Coach of the Year.
That's good. Ooh, that's a good one. Mine would be by the All-Star break, Jaden Springer will start getting real valuable rotational minutes.
I like Jaden Springer. I'm glad you brought. I totally forgot he was on the team. I like Jaden.
Reason Walker maybe don't stick around too long. Maybe.
Respect to Jaden Springer. He can lock up.
No, I liked what I saw from him in the summer league. Summer league, he actually showed some offensive prowess.
But he can lock up. Yeah.
No, you can lock. He can lock up. So
I like that Tony Allen type of defense.
Yes, yeah. He's outrageous. He's be all over the place, but if he can really own in on his defense and just be a little better offensively, I think we can get something for Jaden Springer. So that's my bold take. By the All-Star break, he starts cracking real rotational minutes.
One more bold prediction: the Celtics will not sell before the end of the year. Not going to sell yet. I don't think they have a buyer.
Mm.
Okay.
Why you say that?
I don't think that any of the buyers that they've been mentioning are actual serious buyers. And I think that it's a complicated deal because the Celtics don't own the Garden. And that makes things a lot more complex for who wants to buy it because you're buying it and then you have to find real estate to build a new stadium arena because no one's going to want to buy the team and then continue to pay rent to the Bruins.
Jet, what's your thoughts on me saying that I think whoever buys the Celtics, the new building will be near Encore or right across from Encore?
I think that makes the most sense.
That's where the money will be.
That's where the money will be. I think it makes sense. Maybe Wynn, who owns the Encore, will buy the Celtics. I could see a Vegas, like a gambling company or something, trying to buy the Celtics. I hope it's somebody who's from here, but I kind of don't think so, which is a bummer because you want sort of that local passion for the team. But yeah, I think there'll be a new arena. I think what's going to happen is whoever buys it will then buy a large piece of land, build an arena, and a WNBA team will also come to Boston.
That's interesting because the Celtics right now are calling the Suns their sister team. Do you think the Suns move to Boston or there's a whole new
No,
WNBA
team. I think the Sun will become their stepsister team.
Man, so I could see that happening as well, possibly.
I just there's no reason there shouldn't be a WNBA team in Boston. They would be wildly popular. The city can support two basketball teams. They don't even play during the same season. It just makes too much sense, and I don't think the Sun will move because Connecticut's also a good market for women's basketball because of the college. They have so many fans already there. But I think that's what's going to happen. Whoever's going to buy it is going to move them, like you said, maybe to where the Win is, where the Encore is. I don't really know where else they could put it, and then put a WNBA team there as well.
I like that, Jet. Next episode, let's talk about that more. I want to dive into more of having a WNBA team here in Boston. But this is the No Look Pod. I got Mike Nice with me, got Jet. Can you guys plug in where they can find you guys at?
You can find me on, I'm still going to call it Twitter, on Twitter at Jetstriar, JETSTRIAR. I've mostly just retweeting Celtics stuff making fun of the Patriots for being so bad because I'm so miserable watching them, and celebrating Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental Championship.
Hey. You can find me at Mr._Mike Nice on Twitter, X, whatever it's called. Double M Media. I'm Double M Media everything. Wherever you can find Double M Media, you're gonna find me. And yeah.
Marv, are we like a day before the season, like full on preview and predictions?
Bro, I'm locked in, Jet. I'm locked in. Y'all gonna get sick of me. I'm gonna send y'all a lot of texts saying, hey, this is when I'm on. If y'all can come on, come on. But I'm locked in this year, man.
Should be a good year. Should be a good season indeed.
We only have one good team in Boston. We gotta
Right, we gotta dive it all in on site. I'm gonna do some Patriots too. I gotta find some time where I can just let out my frustration
here's
about
my last
the Patriots.
By the end of the third quarter of the first Celtics game, they will have outscored the Patriots for the entire season.
That won't take much, bro.
That was 5 points, and they will be.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys for hopping on here. If you haven't already, guys, our Double M live episode with Gary Washburn is out right now on YouTube. Please go definitely check that out. Carl leaving us with the last take. He's saying start Drake. We're gonna save that for another time. But we are out of here. Thank you, man. Thank you for everyone who's watching. Shout out to Carl in the comments, man. Double M, man. We out.